Hello and welcome to 5 Habits of. Today we are joined by the brilliant Lucy Wilson, and we are going to be talking about the 5 habits for calm after chaos for returning mums to work. Hello, Lucy Wilson. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you very much. Very excited to be here and talking about supporting new mums.
Brilliant. Yes, I'm really excited to have you on. Just before I get you to introduce yourself, I just want to talk about why I've got you on today, because it's really important. Because actually, I'm not a mum, so this thing on paper doesn't serve me, but actually it really deep down does. I'm married. My wife's had a child. She had a really interesting experience going back into work, and might come up in the call. But also, as a leader, we have these opportunities to support women coming back into work, and we need to know what's going on so we can, as males, we can help everyone get back into work and get the best out of people, because people really do change. So, Lucy, tell us a little bit about you and your experience and why we want to listen to you today.
Yeah, so my name's Lucy Wilson. I'm the founder of MAIA, the Matrescence Empowerment Programme, and I'm just really passionate about educating people about the changes that women go through. So I talked about matrescence. I mentioned it. Matrescence is the change that you go through when you're pregnant into having a baby and becoming a mother. And mentally, physically, emotionally, and societally, it's just as profound as when you become a teenager. And so you just go through this huge identity shift and everything changes, but we don't prepare people for it. And so it can be a massive shock. So as well as looking after a tiny baby, which can be quite terrifying, trying to keep them alive, and the lack of sleep and everything else, it's just a huge change to yourself. And so I'm really passionate about explaining the changes that people go through, but also how we can help them, because there's so many things that we can do. Understanding is massive, understanding that there are changes happening, but also the things that we can put in place to make those changes more smoother, and especially when you're coming back into work.
Yeah, amazing. It is so important, because when people leave to have a baby, they're not leaving to come back a different person, but they do. But we want to keep those brilliant people working with us, because we need that diversity in the workplace, and they're also humans. So This is really important we get this bit right. Amazing. So we can go through 5 habits. It is a Friday afternoon. We're gonna whistle stop this, but people can we'll tell them how they can find out more after. So what is the first habit we should be thinking about?
Number 1, I think is good for everybody, not just mothers, but for mothers especially, is getting out and being in nature and just getting outside, because the whole business of mothering can be quite stressful. And one of the things that is just so amazing about getting outside and into nature is about how it just has an instant calming effect on you. And studies have shown that even if you can't get outside, connecting in with nature in any way you can still be beneficial. And I'm talking about even looking at images of nature or a video of nature, if you know, because it's still, when we go out into nature and we're surrounded by it, it opens up our parasympathetic nervous system, which is what helps to calm our body. It reduces our stress levels, and also it builds up our tolerance to future stresses. And you get that from either looking at images or actually going outside into nature. I'd always say going out is the best if you can. But just going outside, and sometimes I'd still do it if I'm stressed. You go, just even going outdoors, even if you're not going out, but just go outside and do some deep breaths and breathe in the air around you, because that's just a really fast way of being able to calm yourself down. And I think that's something easy that is accessible for everybody. You know,
that's really interesting.
Yeah. And even better, if you can actually go out and have a walk. I say one of the best things that anybody can do is have a walk. And we know that the way that it changes your brain when you've been for a walk compared to when it hasn't is massive. And so it can feel counterproductive, because you go back to work and you've got to cram everything in. There's not very much time, but actually your brain is going to work so much better if you can just, even if you took 10 minutes, even if you just took 10 minutes outside to have a walk, your brain is going to work so much better. So actually it's going to be much easier to think, and it's going to be much easier to be able to get through your work than it would be if you just stay there and think, I've got to get all this done, you know? So get outside. Get outside.
That's really, get outside. That's really interesting, because I think some of my experiences of working with new mums in the workplace is they've come back on reduced hours.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be seen as slacking, and they don't want to go away from the desk. But actually, it sounds like and we should be really encouraging to go get outside, get away from the screen.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say, because you as the leader, you need to be the one saying, hey, I don't want you staying in here all day. You may be here for less hours, but I want you to go outside. And you should be saying it to all of your team. You should be telling everybody to go outside. We shouldn't have anybody just sitting and staying at their desk ever.
Okay, brilliant. I love it. I love it. It's just so important. I am, you're preaching to the converted, but it's so important for that reminder. And I think in my head, it's the coming back on those reduced hours. You've got 5 hours, you've got no break.
Yeah, and it's really easy to fall into thinking that. It's really easy, but it really, you know, it really, really is beneficial and well worth doing it.
Absolutely brilliant. Okay, that's habit number 1. What's habit number 2?
Habit number 2 is about how you fuel yourself. So food. So I've always been a massive foodie. I love food. I love cooking. But my goodness, when you have a baby and then the juggle of everything, it can be really hard to eat the right food. And when you're hungry and you haven't planned things in, it's really easy to grab stuff that's just going to give you a quick high, a quick sugar high, but then actually it's not giving you enough fuel that's going to keep you going through the day and help to feed your brain. So my second habit is really about taking just a little bit of time to plan out what you're going to eat and what are things that you can have made in advance. So I'm talking about things like prepping your breakfast and getting into a routine of what you're having. And I would say, if I knew how I eat now, I would be horrified before I had children. Because I would cook elaborate different dinners and lunches and things all the time, but you do not have time for that. You do not have time for that. And you have to think that this is a period in your life where it's just important to get the right fuel, and you can go back to things that are more exciting further down the line when you've got space for it. But at the moment, it's so important to feed yourself well, because it's just going to have a massive impact on your well-being. And again, that thing of what you can do to help you think. If you haven't eaten properly, then your brain, again, going back to work, you can't think well. So I'd say things like having overnight oats that you prep the night before. So you've got 5 minutes, and then you put them in, and having some nuts, having some fruit in there, and different things that you can make in advance. And again, for lunches, I would make a big batch of salad. Depends on the, which part of the year we're in, salad or soup, basically. So you make a big batch of something, and it takes you an hour or half an hour. But then you've got it. And I'm the first to say it can be a bit boring. Yeah, it can be boring. But my God, you're so happy when you can just grab that food and it's already done. And even things like dinners in the evening, get onto a bit of a routine of what you're going to have and just make things that are simple but plan it. Because once you're going back to work as well, you've got another factor happening. And if you know what you're getting and you get into a routine, even if you we eat a variation of the same thing each week at the moment because my kids are fussy. But it makes the food shopping so much easier. That they're going to eat it. You can have something slightly different at the weekend, but it just means it's so much easier, and it's one less thing that I have to worry about. And you get a decent meal. And it's just so important. And I think that you can be so much when you have a baby is thinking about what they're having, and you need to remember it is so crucial and important what you're putting inside yourself as well.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly. I'm in that club. I think it's even things like it's fewer choices in the day, right? If you've already decided what you're going to eat and you're tired and you don't want to look in the cupboard, you've got a bag of crisps or I just even have a little pots of nuts done up that you can chuck in a bag.
Yes.
Really
and taking healthy snacks. And I love nuts. I have loads of pots of nuts around, because then you can just always grab them, and they're so good for you. That it's that planning. It just means it's just less effort, more planning, and it's decision fatigue. There's too many things that are running through, and that's why. And a lot of this stuff is you call it habits and routines. And yes, it can be boring, and sometimes you think, oh God, but also you can break out of that if you've got time and you can have something different. But you've always got that set routine of stuff that you can go to that's there, that's going to fuel you and look after you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely consciously planning what you're going to eat. I love that habit. What is the third habit that we should be thinking about? And
this one again is about a routine, and it's all about sleep. And I suffer from this, and I did this week as well. My husband's been away, and I've been doing the kids on my own, and I've ended up finishing bedtime really late because it's been hot, and they've been up a little bit later. And then there's that point where you think, I want some me time. I want some time to sit up and watch Netflix and have some chill out time. But I would just say, you must prioritize your sleep, because having kids, and especially when you're going back to work or maternity, you know, who knows what's going on with the sleep of your child. It still can be a really, really tricky time. So I think you have to be sort of really strict and get into that habit of going to bed early, which again, boring. Yes, it can be boring, but you cannot function properly if you haven't had enough sleep. And I think going to bed early is the only way that you can feel better in the day, you know, because you don't know what's going to happen generally overnight. I mean, you might be uber lucky and have a baby that sleeps really, really well. And even if you do, you still need your sleep. It's no good for you staying up really, really late, you know? So it's just always thinking about the fact, you know, and having that cutoff. And if you make it into a routine, okay, I'll give myself a little bit of time to watch TV or read a book or do whatever I want to do. But at this point, I am going to go to bed, because I know that morning me is going to really thank nighttime me.
Yeah, I love. Oh yes, sensible me is going to thank me, but because the tired stressed you. Because it almost repeats. So if you put that into the eating rubbish things as well. So if you haven't slept properly, you're then going to probably not have planned properly. And then you're going to eat some junk, and then that's going to affect your sleep. And
yeah, because you're so much more hungry as well. Well, you think you're hungry, but you're not actually hungry. You're just tired. And you're so much more likely to eat more calories. They've done loads of tests. If you don't sleep enough, you're way more likely to eat sugary food. And then you're just going high and low again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you just got to prioritize that sleep. Yeah, and just think.
There's nothing really that gets it back either, is there? There's no magical thing that gets your sleep back. One good night's sleep does save you, but there's no magic thing you can do in the day that pulls you through.
No, there isn't. And the thing is, when you've had a decent amount of sleep and you sleep through, you feel like you're so much more capable. Whereas if you've had a really crappy night's sleep, and the thing is, and I know my children have never slept that well. So I know that this isn't to say you go to bed early and you're going to be able to sleep all the way through the night. You're not. It's just that the earlier you go to sleep, the more hours you can bank before necessarily getting woken up. And that's why it's so important, because the longer that you can get of those sleeping through hours, and the earlier you sleep, there's been studies done showing that the more sleep you get before 12 is actually, the sleep before 12 is more beneficial than the sleep after 12. And I'm not exactly sure why. Yeah, look it up. But that's a thing. Yeah. So the earlier you go to bed, the better it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny because I've started my body clock started to move a bit. I'm heading more towards 9, but I get up at 5 o'clock at the moment to do a workout and all that stuff, because it's one of the only windows I've got. But at the moment, the sun's up. So sun's up at 5 o'clock. And that's a huge energy booster for me. There is a very big difference between a 5 o'clock in December and a 5 o'clock in June.
Oh, massively. And also if you've been awake in the night, and if you're not at that stage at the moment, are you?
No, but it definitely does make a huge difference, making sure people are sleeping properly. And it's if someone's coming into work and I didn't sleep last night, actually remembering that the power of a power nap, a 20-minute reach, like I am a subscriber to a 20-minute power nap. So actually, if someone has struggled, is to go sit in a room for 3 minutes, have a 20-minute power nap, and come out the other side. It does do something. It doesn't have to be a massive amount of sleep to catch up. No.
Yeah, I massively agree with you. And do you know what? When I was pregnant, when I was at work, I used to go nap in my car at lunchtime.
Yeah.
It's like when I was really heavily pregnant and I was so tired, and just having 20 minutes lying down, I used to move the chair back, and I wouldn't care if people saw me in the car park. But it did make a massive difference. It does make a massive difference. So power napping, yes. Yeah. If you've lost that sleep, if you can get a chance to have a power nap, then yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so that was habit number 3. We're on to habit number 4.
4. Fun. So much of being a new parent is serious, because I think we all do it. We're all so determined to get it right, and we're so striving and so anxious a lot of the time, because it's all so new and we're tired and everything's quite overwhelming. And then add on to that, going back to work, there is so much, and you can feel like there is no time for fun. But do you know what? It's so important that you make time. And it doesn't have to be anything massive. When I talk about fun, really, I'm talking about just something that makes you feel like you a bit, something that you're passionate about, something that you enjoy. And that could be like listening to something that you find funny, listening to a funny podcast that just whatever it is, it makes you stop thinking about just your day-to-day life and your baby and being a mom and all of that, and just makes you just feel a bit like just you, not anything else, and not without any distractions. If you can like make plans to go and see friends, sometimes it's quite difficult, but booking something in again where you can just go and have fun with your friends, or doing anything that you find fun, watching a funny program, anything that is just going to make you have a bit of a laugh and stop thinking about all the things that can feel really serious. A lot of it feels serious and heavy a lot of the time. And I mean, because your baby's quite small at this point as well, so you kind of have fun like playing with them and stuff. But when kids are older, you can often have a bit more fun with them as well.
It's different though, isn't it? It's that what's in it for, like, and I know the experience in our house was that actually losing who you are a bit to looking after keeping the tiny human alive is yes, it's fun, but it's not the thing that it might not be the thing that lights your soul, like something like another habit or a hobby or something you do. And it's important to have that to retain who you are.
It is,
because you still have to retain who you are in that whole process, don't you?
Yeah, you do. And it's really easy to let those things slip away. And I was speaking last week about this on LinkedIn and talking about the fact that we lose our identity. So because we put so much into parenting, and I've always loved to cook, and I was always having people over all the time, and I'd spend all weekend cooking for a Saturday night dinner and have so many people over. But then you can't do that, and I still can't really do that now. It's too much, but you can find smaller ways of doing it. So it's a case of like thinking, what do I like doing? I might not be able to do it in the same way that I did it then, but how can I do it now? Yeah. So how can I make it work for me at the moment?
Brilliant. Love it. Okay. So we're almost there. What is the fifth habit we should be thinking?
Oh, the fifth one, self-compassion. And this is why I've put it last, because I just think it's so important. And I think that we are our own worst critics. And I think we're so hard on ourselves. And again, it comes back to the fact that we just want to make everything right because we care so much. And we love this tiny little thing that we've created, like more than we could ever have believed possible. And so all of our actions are so important. And, we worry about getting things wrong, and there's a million different things of information coming towards us all the time, and we're trying to have to navigate how to work through all of this. But I think at the end of the day, self-compassion, just being able to stop and just think, do you know what? I'm doing my best. And my best is good enough. And I think that's a really hard thing to take when you're first a parent. And I think that mums can be so hard on themselves. Especially you do get so many different messages about the way to do things. And if you can just stop and just think, do you know what? You're doing an absolutely freaking awesome job. You are amazing. You've created a life. You've kept this child alive.
You've made a tiny human.
You've made a human. A human has come out of you. You've given so much, and whatever you're doing, you just love it and do your best, and then be kind to yourself. Self-compassion, I think, because you are just generally doing your best. I don't think I've ever met anybody who's not trying to do that. And your best looks different on different days, doesn't it? Some days things come easier and you can do so much, and other days you just need to celebrate the fact that, well, you've fed everybody, and everything else was a bit difficult. People are ill, we're not, even if you don't get dressed, if people are ill and you've had a bad night and different things, and just think, well, I'm doing my best, and that is always good enough. And you need to keep your internal monologue of that voice that's talking to you all the time. Keep reminding yourself of being kind to yourself, and having compassion and thinking about what that means, because it is really, really hard, but we make it harder on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need a bit further on, it's easier.
It's easier, yeah. So it's especially the first time around. You don't know how it's going to affect you. You don't know where your hormones are going to be.
No.
You don't know if you walk into the office and just not care anymore. Like things you once cared about, you can then be in your job. This is about returning to work. You can walk back in the office and go, do you know what? That thing that's melting down over there that I once would have saved, not interested. It is tiny in terms of what's going on, and that's okay. That is a perfectly fine, good, perfect place to be, isn't it? You know what, that thing that I used to jump on and save, That can, it's actually tiny in significance. It gets you to reassess your priorities, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does. And I think that that's a good thing, because sometimes, and I was like that before I became a mum, work would seem huge. And then afterwards you think, oh, it's not really, and so it does give you a different perspective. And that's okay. And it's okay, like you say, to think that you've changed. I think as well, the self-compassion thing, I think it can be really hard when you're not expecting the level of change that you're going to go through. And so part of you sort of upset because you think, I'm not me anymore. But you are you. But you're like you 2.0 because you've moved on. You're growing. You're journeying into something amazing. You are amazing. But it can feel really difficult if you feel just not yourself. And I think so many people feel like that. I think that's really hard.
I love it. It's a great one to finish up on. So just to recap, our 5 habits are: habit number 1,
get outside. We'll get outside.
Habit number 2.
Yeah, habit number 2, fuel your body. It might not be exciting, but it's so important to eat the right food, plan it, make it a habit of having it, and always have something healthy there for you to grab, so you don't grab something bad.
Amazing. Habit number 3.
Habit number 3, sleep. Again, it may not be exciting, but bank that sleep. Bank as much early sleep as you can, because it will make you feel so much better the next day.
Love it. Habit number 4.
Habit number 4, fun. Try and have some fun. Remember what you used to enjoy doing and make time for it, even if it's changed about how the way you do it now. Just even thinking about it, is the right step to getting there, even if it's difficult and you can only build up to doing small bits of it to start off with.
Perfect. And the last habit number 5.
Habit number 5, self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your mind, because we spend all of our time in our heads, wherever we are, when we're at home, when we're at work. Be kind to yourself, because you're doing an absolutely incredible job, and give yourself a break, because you're doing the best that you can. And that is always good enough.
Amazing. I love that. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I've learned so much and been reminded of lots of brilliant things as well. If people want to find out more about the work you do or work with you, what sort of things do you do in the world, and how can they find you?
Yes, so I've been building what I would call it an amazing program. It's called the Matrescence Empowerment Programme, to help support new mothers, and we're launching in October. So DM me or check out my LinkedIn profile. You can find out more about that. And we're also doing workshops. I'm very up for coming and speaking to people about matrescence and about the motherhood journey and my experiences. And just DM me, find me on LinkedIn and send me a message, and I would love to talk to you.
That's amazing. Brilliant. Okay, so that is everything. Thank you so much for those of you watching at home. Thank you, Lucy. Have a brilliant day.